Okay, we're live. Let me give folks a second to find it. And can you hear those sweet jams, or is that just in my head?
I can hear them.
Okay, good. They give me like 8 choices in this program. I swear this is the best one. It's hard to believe. All right, come on in, everybody. Welcome back to the Tennessee Holler. It's been a minute since we've done one of these. We've been so slammed with videos from the Tennessee legislature where we're constantly under attack every single day. And we're going to talk about a group of people that are dealing with something like that right now. Before we get into it, tnholler.com is where you can find us, at the TN Holler on Twitter and Facebook. And we are also all over Tennessee in all these different places, and that's all thanks to your support. We really do appreciate it. Chip in a few bucks a month. It goes a long way. And we also want to thank Elisa Parker for supporting us. If you're buying or selling in Tennessee, do it through her. That's a great way to support us. Wanted to jump on here today. If you've been following us lately, you may have seen a story that we've been posting about that's going on in West Tennessee, in a city called Mason, which is near where the Ford plant that you've probably heard a lot about is going to be. So just to give a little context for people, the Ford plant was announced a few months back. I actually don't remember exactly when, but it was a big deal. The Memphis Regional Megasite lands $5.6 billion investment from Ford Motor Company. This is on the Tennessee website. That's in September, so I guess that's when it was. Obviously a big deal for the area, big deal for Ford. This was Ford's announcement, $11.4 billion investment, new mega campus in Tennessee. You know it's a big deal when suddenly Republicans start to be into electric vehicles. It had to be a big deal for them to start liking electric vehicles. When we saw headlines like revolutionary new electric vehicle plant to bring 6,000 jobs and a trade school to West Tennessee. So just establishing that that's what was going on there. But come to find out a few months later, Mason, Tennessee, which I'm going to get this number wrong, maybe Virginia, but 153-year-old charter. Is that right? It's been around for 153 years. Okay. My understanding is the roots of Mason are that it was a tent city, that people were essentially chased out of Memphis for voting. And it sort of it planted roots as a tent city back in the day. I've heard that from some stories and also from people who I think know you and know people around there. And we started to hear that the comptroller, Jason Mumpower, and the administration were pressuring Mason to give up its charter and mailing letters like this from Mumpower to the people of Mason, essentially saying either give up your charter, stop being a city entirely, or we're going to take over your finances. And they were pointing to financial issues that the city has had going back 20 years. And Virginia, how did I do there?
Good.
So far? Good. Okay. So today we are going to talk to somebody who's at the center of all of this. This is Vice Mayor of Mason, Tennessee, Virginia Rivers. Virginia, how are you tonight?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. Okay, so I'm going to sort of turn it over to you here a little bit. I'd like to know, when did you first start hearing from the state and from Mumpower about this issue?
When they actually, for us, giving us demands, is when they called the meeting, the first meeting in March, wanted us to surrender or our charter. They came in with a demand to either give it up, or they were going to take over our finances. Those was our options. But since then, we realized that they really was wanted us to just give up our charter altogether.
And when you first started hearing that from them, what was your thought? Why did you think they were doing it?
First of all, when they called the meeting with the town, with the mayor and board of aldermen, we had no idea what they wanted at that time at the meeting, even though they were asked what was the agenda about. We were never given an answer until we made it to the meeting, and that's when the bomb was dropped that he wanted us to give up our charter, or uh, or they were gonna come in and take over the finance.
Okay, and I'm going to ask you in a second about the finances part because I'm not going to say it's at the root of this story, but it's certainly at the root of their version of the story. Uh,
Right.
so, what I wanted people to know about Mason is that the leadership of the city is Black. It's a predominantly Black city. And as anybody who's paying attention to Tennessee knows, this is a Republican white supermajority running our state. And so that those optics are inescapable in all of this. What do you feel like the role of race is in this story?
Well, my that's the main issue. Actually, I feel that we know that Mason is getting all of this money from. We are entitled to the monies that has been allocated to Mason through the state for as the ARP and other funds. And now that we will be able to receive this money, so we can do better financially here in Mason. Now all of a sudden, uh, they want to come in, Mr. Mumpower and them, and take over. He even made the statement that he felt we were irresponsible to be able to handle the finances. So that alone says to me that you are saying because of who we are, that we are not capable of handling the finances of Mason. When we took over the finances of Mason, back in 2015, two administrations ago, we started then trying to rectify all of the errors or for as the finance because it was already in shambles. $1 million had been taken out of Mason, through fraud or whatever reason it was. So when we came in 2015, because I say we, because I was also serving during that time, we came in and we tried our best to rectify, try to fix and pay all the debts that we could. And it was a struggle. And we are still struggling to try to pay past uh, debt that was made before we even came in.
Okay, so they say there have been financial issues for 20 years in Mason. And my first question to Mumpower, and I'll even play you a clip of it in a minute, is, okay, well, he's saying there's been issues for 20 years. He's kind of telling on himself because if there's been issues for 20 years, why are you suddenly making this an issue now? Now that, as you say, you're getting money from the American Rescue Plan, and glaringly, Ford is about to drop down 4 miles from Mason. So, what actually are the financial issues with Mason right now? And how has it evolved over the last 20 years? Has it gotten better, worse? Where are things right now?
We are getting better. We have paid off a few of the debts. It was like I say, it was a struggle, but we have managed. We are not. We pay our bills. We're not behind on our bills. We're not in a deficit or anything of that nature. We're none of our bonds are behind. Nothing. So instead of him coming in like he has did with other cities and offer to help us so that we can. Uh, get better financially. He just wants to come in and take over if we don't give up our charter.
Yeah, and it's worth noting, cities are in debt, like counties are in debt. Cities and counties and localities, they run debt. Like that's a thing that happened. I mean, America is in debt for crying out loud. So, it's not unheard. I think Williamson County, hundreds of millions of dollars here in Williamson County, but it's Williamson County, so nobody says anything about that. So, the idea that you guys are in debt is not the end of the world at all. And as you say, it's getting better. So, from your perspective, what do you think they're after?
they're after our waterway system and just really to take over Mason completely. He's really wanting to have Tipton County, a Republican county, to come in and take over Mason, and we just sit back like it's nothing. But we refuse to do that.
To what end though? Like, what does he want to do? He wants to be able to grant development permits, take over the land. He mentioned
Everything.
development when and I'm going to bring this up now, but when I talked to him, I talked to him at the Capitol. I don't know if you got a chance to see that video, but
No.
okay, so I'm going to pull it up for you right now. But I talked to him for 5 minutes, and he immediately went to development. So I want to play this for you here so you can hear what he has to say and maybe you can respond. Black Lead City, 4 miles from where the Ford plant's going to be, that's potentially going to lose their charter. How does that get justified, and what is the situation with the finances?
I can.
There's a poor financial management in Mason. What we're trying to do is help them get on track so that they can benefit from all the development that's coming to their area.
Okay, so he says, did you hear that? Could you hear that?
I heard the last part. He said that where he said he was trying to help us get on track where
Get
we
on
can
track.
benefit. Well,
Right.
my thing, if Mr. Mumpower was really trying to help us get on track, where were you before the Ford plant actually came here? Where were you when all the fraud and everything else went down? Where were the comptrollers then? You didn't bother to come in. But now that the Ford plant is coming, there is money coming through. It's, to me, y'all want to take control of the money so that you can do what you want to do with it. And you were hoping that we would give up the land. He even had a post on his Twitter that if with Senator Paul Rose and Miss Moody, Deborah Moody, that if he stated that they agree with him that if Mason give up their charter, they're ready to push it through legislation. Well, I don't understand that, because if we can benefit so well, which we can and we will, but if they know we can benefit, why not help us benefit? Why come in and try to run over us or bulldoze us out of the way?
Right, and we should mention Moody and Rose are both white legislators, both Republican, and so they're essentially making decisions for you and using the debt of the city as an excuse. The thing that he said to me also, and I won't play you more of what he said, I'll just tell you. He said, they don't have a supermarket, they don't have like wastewater for a grocery store, basically saying that no development has happened in Mason, so they need to come in and like help help yourselves kind of thing. I mean, it's a very condescending way of discussing this issue, and I'm wondering how you respond to that.
Well, first of all, that is not true. We do have wastewater, and we can give have wastewater for our store. We had a store. We had actually two. That one blew up, and the other one tractor trailer ran into it and burnt it. It burnt down. But if we didn't have it, how did they function before all that happened? So we do have it. It's just a matter of needing upgrade. So we'll be ready for the mega site that's coming through. And I believe that if they really was concerned, which they're not, if they were really concerned about us or about Mason itself and not what they can gain and what they can control if they come in and take over, then if they was really concerned about us, they wouldn't do what they are doing.
Just to zoom out for a second, right? Because when I first heard about this story and when we posted about it and other people were just starting to hear about it nationally, and people who don't really know the lay of the land that well, just to look at it from the macro perspective, it's a black lead city 4 miles from where Ford is dropping down, that a white supermajority is essentially trying to railroad to get rid of, to erase from the map after they've been there for 150 years. The optics are awful. Is there something that we're all missing about this story that is deeper than that? Or is that about what's going on here?
It, I don't think nobody's missing the point if they really look at it. It's plain and simple. It's who is running the administration at the time and the monies that's coming in. If we had this finance all this time, we have had issues with trying to manage the finances of the town, but somehow by the grace of God, we have managed it. Even though we are still got debt, but we are not as bad off as they're trying to make us seen, nor or the bad off as they're trying to make our citizens seen. When he sent that letter out to our citizens, really what his attempt was to me was to conquer and divide. He was trying to divide our city, cause the constituents to turn against the elected officials that they elected to put in office. He never talked to us. We never knew anything about the letter. The only conversation we had with Mr. Mumpower is when he walked into Mason at a meeting and made a demand.
What about now? Is he in? Excuse me. What about now? Is Mumpower in communication with you? Is he
No,
being transparent? Is he trying to help you
no.
along, or is he being adversarial?
He's not helping us, and no, he has not. We have not had a conversation with him since that meeting. Not
Wow.
at all. Not the mayor, myself, or anybody, any other the board officials. None of us has had a conversation with him since then.
So he has now said we're taking over.
Right.
Right. This was, I think, today even news broke that comptroller is taking over majority black town of Mason ahead of the Ford investment in West Tennessee. So he's taking over. So what does that mean exactly? Like, what does that look like for him to take over the finances? Like, how does that actually work? Does he, get the bank codes and you hand over, like you email him your book? Like, what does that even look like?
To be honest with you, I can't go into details as to exactly what that in detail because this is our first time dealing with something like this. I do know he did make a statement that if he come in, we wouldn't be allowed to spend any money without their permission over $100. So that means you can't pay anybody, you can't pay your bills unless he permits it to be paid, which they can come in and they can make it hard by not approving us to pay our bills or
Right.
to
They can
give us
make
the
it
money
harder on
anytime
you.
you set it at $100.
Right. They could make it harder on you, actually. They could
Right,
take it
right.
over as though they're helping you and then actually make life harder if they want to, and
That's right.
manipulate the situation for their own benefit. Can you do us a favor and just tell us a little bit about Mason and the lay of the land there for people who aren't there and what it's like and the people are like? What kind of community is it? And, what's the situation there?
Well, if you were referring to the layout, we're just a small town
Yeah.
who with that, with the population of maybe 1,000 and about 1,130 some people. We all really pretty much from here. We was raised here and everything, and we do have now. We still have a restaurant, which is Bozo's. We also have another restaurant that's here, which is Gus's Fried Chicken. So it's not like we don't have anything. But our goal is if we want to get to be able to get where we can have more stores, businesses come into our town willing to see Mason grow. And we would like to have maybe a school back in Mason, restaurants, daycare, senior citizen places. These are the things we want to see in Mason. And yes, we can have those things. But with them coming in and how long they plan to stay, we don't know. Now they'll put this out to the media of when they coming in and taking over. They have not relayed anything to the mayor or the board of aldermen about anything. We haven't had a conversation with them. They're talking to the media, not to us.
That's very telling right there. And it seems like a lot of the things that you're talking about having in Mason would probably be natural progressions with Ford coming in. You know, these things would Ford would come in, money would come, and development would happen. And you
Right.
know that seems like that's how that would go. So you know, it definitely it's seems pretty transparent what's going on there. And, you know, I think it's really useful to hear it from you directly. What can people do to help? And, you know, where do you see this going from here? Like, you know, I think one thing that I would encourage you to do, or to encourage people to do in general, is, you know, Ford needs to know this is happening. I bet Ford has really no clue. And I doubt Ford would want to start their relationship with Tennessee by eradicating a black-led city 4 miles from their doorstep. So, you know, what would your message be to Ford?
My message to Ford would be that we want to take part in what they're bringing. We want to grow. And if it's any way they can take step in toward that, we would appreciate it. But we are looking forward to benefiting from them. We're looking forward to being able to progress with what's going on. So to Ford, I would say, if they can't be fair to every town, especially a town 4.5 miles from you that can progress, I would say they need to take a look at it.
Awesome. Well, Virginia, thanks so much for coming on here. I think people are starting to wake up to what's happening. Everybody who's been watching, I appreciate it. If you have any questions for Virginia before I let her go here, let me know. But in general, I think it's really useful to put a face to this whole thing. And you know, I tried to give Mumpower the benefit of the doubt. I talked to him. You know, I asked him these questions. I didn't feel like I came away with a great idea of the specifics of what their problems are with what's going on there. So you last time we spoke called it bullying. Is that how you feel? Does this feel like bullying?
Well, when he came, yes. When they came to us, that's how we felt. We felt really like they were bullying us and trying to force us to do something with, and we didn't want to do it. But they was determined. If you pay attention to every statement Mr. Mumpower made, it pertains to our charter. He really didn't talk about the fund. He mentioned it, but his goal was to take our charter, to give up our charter,
Virginia,
and allow them to take over.
And allow them to take over. Well, keep us posted. We will keep an eye on this. You know, one of the things that we do at the Holler is, like, when we have our eye on something, we don't let go. So it's not like we're just going to talk about this once and move on and never hear from us again. You know where to find me. When stuff happens, please let us know. Come back and talk to us. You know, we're not going to let them do this in the dark. And I hope everybody who's watching keeps an eye on this also. There are some people who are reporting about this. Lookout's been looking at it. Echo Day from the Covington Leader has been looking at it. So, you know, this is a story now. It's not going away. And the optics of it are terrible. So now the onus is on Mumpower and Lee to let us know, okay, if you guys are in the right here, prove it. And until then, I think we all kind of see what's going on here. So, Virginia, thanks so much. Stay in touch with us and stay strong over there. Okay, keep us posted.
All right. Thank you so much for having me. Y'all have a good day.
All right. Thanks.
Bye.
So that's Vice Mayor Virginia Rivers. Thank you for staying with us. I'm going to go ahead and pull up the Mumpower video again for the people that are still watching. I don't know if you guys have seen this yet, but I think I may have clicked out of it. Hang on. Yeah, I did. Hang on. Let me pull it up. But anyway, the bottom line is Mumpower didn't have many good reasons for what they're doing. And, you know, until they give us the answers, it's hard not to just look at the optics and go, oh, that's obviously what's happening here. And, you know, give us a reason to think otherwise. You know, I don't know about you guys, but this seems pretty obvious. I don't know if you guys have seen Chinatown, the movie, the Jack Nicholson movie, which was kind of a land grab movie That's kind of the vibe that I'm getting here. I don't know the lay of the land over there, but it does feel like something must be going on with the land and what they want.
And why is this becoming a situation now?
Well, it's been a situation for 20 years.
Right, but why are you leaning on them now?
Well, it's just become untenable, and they've never had an opportunity. The tax-paying citizens have never had an opportunity like they do now.
So that thing where Mumpower is trying to say, I'm doing this for their own good, that kind of doesn't sit right? Like, they've never had an opportunity like they do now, like as though this is all for their own good. Meanwhile, you've got Virginia saying, well, they're not even talking to us. They're talking to the media. So, what Mumpower is selling and what they're actually doing, those don't really add up too well. And, he didn't really want to be talking to me. You can see he keeps looking away. He wants to move away. I didn't get the sense like this really is for their own good. And I'm going to keep playing it because I want you guys to see it. But, again, the bottom line is like, what are they after?
It's for their own good.
It's for the good of the tax-paying citizens who are getting nothing for the taxes they're paying.
What does that mean, getting nothing?
Well, they're getting no services. So when the mayor of a city can't articulate what benefit the taxpayers are receiving from being a city, then it's time to evaluate whether they need to continue to be a city.
I mean, what services they're getting. Like, what I live in an unincorporated town. Like, what services are we getting? I live in a small area. There's small cities all over this place. What services are you getting? Like, do the lights turn on? Does the water run? Like, you've got a mayor, you've got a vice mayor, you've got people making decisions, you've got laws being made. Like, these don't feel like questions that get asked of white towns, frankly. I mean, let's just say it, like, where is the instance of this, and I asked him that, and he pointed to something, a city called Jellicoe, which they had someone stealing from them. And there are actually examples of theft in Mason, but that was in 2016. Actually, when leadership was white there. And they didn't do anything about this then. So again, 20 years of financial issues that they're talking about. And now suddenly Ford shows up 4 miles from their doorstep. And now they're going to remove their charter after 153 years. Like, no, that doesn't sit right.
The timing of it, that you're now starting to pressure them right when Ford shows up, it starts to look a little more than coincidental. So I'm wondering, why suddenly are you taking an interest in Mason?
Because if Mason doesn't get their finances in order, the opportunity for development is going to bypass them.
The opportunity for development is going to bypass who? Them. It's for them. It's all for them. Make it about them. Right? It's for their own good. Well, who is the opportunity for development really going to bypass? Who are you really worried about here, Jason? I mean, anybody who has paid any attention to Tennessee for even a short period of time, let alone since we have 2019, but even just the last 6 months, where you saw Governor Lee giving out pandemic no-bid contracts, and you've got Penny Schwinn self-dealing to a company that her husband works at, giving millions of dollars in contracts to education companies her husband works at. These are not people that are like, oh, you know what? We really need to make sure that Mason, Tennessee, a black-led town, we need to make sure that they capitalize on this and get everything they can from this situation. These are people that were fighting to keep a KKK Grand Wizard bust in our capital. Now they're going to turn around and worry about Mason, Tennessee, and for their own good. And that's what they're thinking about here. 4 miles is not a lot of miles from Ford. And so think about that. Like, think about what Ford's about to spend. Ford's about to, by their own admission, Ford's about to spend not millions, not hundreds of millions, billions of dollars. Billions of dollars. 4 miles from Mason. billions. And 5.6, that's one headline. That's low. 11.4 on Ford's website. $11.4 billion. And now they want Mason to stop existing right when that's about to happen. I'm sorry, that's tough to swallow. That's hard to believe. That's gross.
The opportunity for development. So
The
if there's a
opportunity
development
for
situation,
the opportunity for neighborhoods to develop. You know, Mason doesn't have a grocery store or a gas station, and the citizens suffer from not having the ability to have those things in their communities.
So look what he did there. You remember when Virginia was on here and she said he's trying to divide us. He's trying to pit the citizens against leadership. Well, what did he just do right there, right? He acted like he's the champion of the citizens. They're suffering. They don't have a gas station. And it's leadership's fault. Well, Virginia pointed out they elected us as their leaders. So you're trying to divide them, but they elected these leaders. This is their mayor that they elected, their vice mayor, their alderman. They have a government. So when you say what services are we getting, well, you have a government. That's what services you're getting. Somebody is keeping books, like that costs money. You know, maybe they're not like, I don't know. You know, I'm trying to think of what would that question? How would Franklin answer that question? What services are you getting? They would say, "What, we have festivals." Like, how do you even answer that question? It's not weird that they couldn't answer that question. I don't even know how to answer that question, and I don't live in Mason, but like somebody said to you, "What services do you get from your city?" Like garbage pickup? Like what? I don't know. So you know, it just feels condescending. And it feels like bullying. And so I told him that.
If they don't get their finances in order, just as we have done with other communities across the state, the comptroller will have to run their finances for a while.
what other communities does that happen to?
Jellicoe,
So he mentioned Jellicoe. So I went and looked up what happened in Jellicoe. Oh, well, the city recorder stole $100,000. Okay. And yes, there was some nefariousness in Mason. That was 7 years ago. And they didn't do anything about it then. So I'm sorry, that does not hold water.
Van Buren County, to name a couple. We make a decision about their expenditures.
They're feeling bullied, just so you know. I talked to them. So
I understand.
Okay.
I understand. There's a lot of tough decisions that need to be made, but when you can't articulate a single benefit that taxpayers are receiving for the highest municipal taxes paid in Tipton County, you've got to look inward.
Okay, so that whole highest taxes paid in Tipton County. I mean, you know, I haven't looked that up. Let's just assume for a second that he's right about that. Like, I guarantee you it's a penny or 2 pennies that they're paying more than other places in Tipton County. I can assure you, without even looking, and I'll look it up, and if I'm wrong, I'll admit it, but it's not like Mason is getting charged up the wazoo for municipal taxes. No, they like found that little nugget and they're using that nugget to push and to try to make this city of Mason disappear completely off the face of the map after 153 years. And the tent city that it was once, that started because Black people were run out of Memphis for trying to vote. And so how far have we come, really, that now that same city is threatening to eradicate it right as it's on the doorstep of some massive opportunity. Massive opportunity. Nobody's going to miss out with $12 billion getting poured in. Just automatically, they open those doors and their property value goes up. Development can happen. You know, I mean, you heard Mumpower talk about development. That was the first word out of his mouth. So clearly, you know, we need to keep an eye on it because in the next few years, we're going to start to see land get sold off. We're going to start to see all kinds of deals get cut. And Mason deserves to participate in the future. And so we all know a little bit about how Tennessee operates. But the question now becomes, how does Ford operate? Because I feel like Ford might be the key to this whole thing. And I don't think Ford really wants this smoke, frankly, of the very first thing that happens when they come to town is a 153-year-old black-led city getting wiped off the map. I could be wrong. Maybe Ford doesn't care. But I don't think that's what they want. So to my fellow hollerers here that are still watching, I would encourage you to let Ford know that this is happening. Keep an eye on this story, and let's try to lift up Mason's story here and help them with what's going on. Thanks for watching. Keep hollering, and we'll see you next time.